All right,
Wow.
hello, welcome. We are live. Friday, early market close in the US, but it's already after the regular market close at this point. Good day for Bitcoin, good day for the Bitcoin miners, hopefully a good day for a bunch of you guys.
Good day for me.
Good day for me and George.
Yeah.
I think we both have the same number one position in our portfolios. For as much as we
Yeah.
may agree or disagree about many things, I'm pretty sure we both have the same largest position, not counting your XRP position, which is CleanSpark for me. So CleanSpark was on fire today. It was on fire this week. We will definitely be talking about that on the stream today. So how'd everybody do? How's everybody doing? Hope you guys made some money in this short week in the US. Just shout out to a few members that I see in the chat. Hello, Crypto Fever, JD Darren, Crypto Golfer. Let's see. Darren Thomas, Darren S, JR, His Honor,
Don't forget Duckman.
Duckman, Barry, FE702. If I've missed you, Omer. If I missed you, hello to everybody. And hello to a lot of our normal
Calvin.
regular subscribers
Hello,
as
Calvin.
well. So, welcome all to our Friday live stream.
Do you want to get right into Bitfarms?
That's definitely got to be on today's agenda. But before we get into anything, if you guys would be so kind as to smash the like button. We are at 20 likes. We always go for 100 likes. It helps the live stream a lot. It helps the channel a lot. It is free to you, and it is much appreciated. And thank you to everybody for not only liking the live streams, but we have been hitting all of our like goals on the videos, and it's been making a big difference for the channel. So thank you very much to all who watch and smash the like button and who have subscribed. And if you have not subscribed, that is also free. So you can hit the subscribe button if you're interested, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the live stream, if you like one and hate the other, or vice versa. Either way, it's free to subscribe. Okay, enough said. Bitcoin's on the move on the live stream right now, and there's some important levels. So let's go. So right before I get to Bitfarms, you want to do Bitfarms first?
Whatever. I think everybody's in a good mood, so no one cares.
All right. So I just want to show a few levels because it's going to be sitting in the background as we talk. I'll keep the 15-minute chart up because there's a couple of lines here that I'm looking. I'm looking for the daily candle to close above. One is this purple line right here. 37,885 is the highest daily candle close of the year in 2023. So you can see actually it was after the US markets closed today. We've had basically a run up straight after. Where was the close? Was way back. Oh, I don't say way back. I think it was this candle right here. Okay, so we basically closed almost at exactly that spot. And then we moved down and we've run back up past that. So that's number one. I think if we can close above this, then we have a new daily candle close, highest daily candle close of the year. So that would be the first thing that I'm looking for. FE702, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. FE702 says, CleanSpark to the moon, MicroStrategy to pay off the mortgage, Bitcoin to 160K, book it, good job. CleanSpark Army, Bitfarms, WTF, question mark. And I will definitely get to that next. I have an answer to that, and I'm going to give you my opinion. And I'll spoiler alert, I bought more Bitfarms today.
Oh, you did? You ended up buying, huh? Well.
Yes, if that gives you any insight as to what my opinion's going to be. But I will go more in detail as to why I did that and what I think is going to happen. So I know nobody likes dilution. I get it, but I'm going to tell you what my opinion is on that. But thank you again, FE702. Hope everything on that list that you said happens exactly the way that you said it. All right, we'll all be happy campers in that scenario. Okay, so the purple line is the first line that I'm hoping we can close above. We're above it right now, but you can see, I mean, we've been above and below this line all day long today. So we're going to have to wait it out and see if we can get that daily candle close here. That's a new high for the year. So that's number one. Number two, the intraday high for the year in 2023 was 37,999. So if we can have a daily candle close, that's $1 under 38,000. If we could close above 38,000, that's what that's my bull case scenario. I feel strongly the next move is up. We will do a poll. In fact, we'll get that going next. But it really would, it would be nice if we can get two confirmations. One, a daily candle close up above the 37,885, making it the highest candle close of the year. And then if we could close above 38,000, I think just psychologically, that's a big number. Also, it will be, that was the high for the year. Prior to today, that was the high for the year. And we just set that, this month. If I go, well, I won't go to the 15-minute. Let me go to the 1 day. So on the 1 day, you'll see, we candle wick. This was a giant candle wick on November 9th. So just what's that? Not even 3 weeks ago. And on that day, we closed down at 36,706. So we pulled way back, but we did candle wick up to, on my chart, $37,999. So just under, call it $38,000. So if we could close above that, and, we're a couple hours away from the daily candle close. So I think we got a real chance at that. And so I'm bullish. I feel very good. I know this was a short week here in the US, but, Bitcoin trades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we got all weekend to see if we can make that happen, or are we going to retest? I mean, you can even see after this big run up was back in the middle of October to really this was all October, this gigantic run up. And since then, November's been nothing but up, really. I mean, we've had some ups and downs, and for a while the other thing is, I'm just going to make a little, if I can figure out how to do this. That's always the real challenge. From the day we hit that high until basically today, from a daily candle open and close standpoint, we've had we've been stuck in a little box here. So the other way I think it's important to look at this is, that is not the arrow that I wanted at all. That's got to go. That has got to go. So we've been up. If you look for the last month, we've been up on an upward trend all month. But if you look at the last couple of weeks, we have been up and down inside of a range. So it would be nice. What I'm hoping today is a breakout outside of that range. We candle wicked. If I zoom in, we can show we clearly candle wicked above this range for the first time this year. So if we could close that daily candle, all the better. Let's get a poll going.
As you do in that time, you think Bitcoin could make it to $1 million in a couple of years? Excuse me.
If a couple is 2 or 3, then I think no. If a couple is 5 to 7, then I mean, I think that's totally possible.
So after the next cycle, you think Bitcoin will follow the same pattern? So then, like in about 3 years, it'll crash again?
No, I do not think that, Al. We'll get into the 4-year cycle, and I do think some new things are ahead. Thank you, Clive, for the super chat. I think Clive's just celebrating a good day, so thank you very much, and thank you for being a member. Much appreciated.
Really? So there's no, wow.
I think there's a lot of cycles at work, and I think a lot of that is what's going to lead to what comes next. It's just what comes after that that I think I might disagree with a lot of people on.
Clive had a question concerning about the upcoming merger with US Bitcoin and HUT. Is relative to how the reverse 5-to-1 will impact option prices. Any thoughts?
They adjust the options for that. So you won't get stuck on the options. But the question really is, is the stock going to get a short-term beat down on that? In which case, depending on which way you played the options, if you got puts on it, then obviously if the stock gets beat up for a little bit, then you'll do okay. All right, so we'll do this quickly, and then we'll follow up with. What? Oh, I used too many letters. There. Okay. So let's quickly get everybody's thoughts. This is just on the next move. So this is really just talking about, what's going to happen the next week or two. Is the next move, are we going to run up to 40,000 from here? Are we going to break through out of this trend and run up to 48? Are we going to stay stuck in this range under 38, but really kind of, 36 to 38,000? Or maybe are we going to go retest? I've got a purple line here at 33,900, so I called it 34,000. What do you guys think is next? And then we'll expand on that. But let's see what everybody thinks is what do you guys think is going on next?
Ghost 21 could be Fred from Marathon. He said, "Sorry, but HUT 8, one of the worst miners, and they don't care about investors."
Well, currently, I mean, it's hard to argue that they're mining. It's hard to disagree with the fact their mining.
At least they're mining.
Their mining has not gone well in 2023. I mean, that's just a documented fact. But
what they mined last month?
I mean, they're in the low hundreds. They're, 110, 120, that kind of stuff. So, that's significantly less than they used to mine. Their exahash is down, but you can see they've gone all in on this merger. So let's just talk about for a minute, because we talked about this on the members only stream, but this is the first live stream we've had since this news came out. So I'm sure most of you know, but for those of you who do not know, US Bitcoin Corp, that is the company that HUT 8 is merging with, their stockholders approved the business combination. So the important sentence here is, and I take it with a grain of salt, I'll believe it when I see it, but I highlighted the transaction is expected to close by November 30th, 2023. This came out just a few days ago, so, that is less than 1 week from now. That's, I think, next Thursday. So they have approval from both boards. I know they've checked a lot of the boxes here in order to make this thing official. They're saying they can get this done by next Thursday. That's very fast. But whether it's whether it's November 30th or December 15th, it would appear there's really nothing left in the way, and this merger is going to happen. So the question becomes, do you like this merger? And do you think it makes the company a better company? My question would be long-term. And I did write down a list of polls, and I want to do that poll in a few minutes, because I want to get everybody's opinion on what they think long-term on HUT 8. And then I think George and I can give you our opinion on what we think is going to happen. But, more importantly, what do you guys think is going to happen? Because now, all year this has been, there's no question, they shifted focus away from mining Bitcoin. They're going to acquire, a bunch of exahash as a function of this merger. In addition to that, some other streams of revenue. They're also going to diversify themselves from only mining in Canada to having a presence in the United States. They're going to become a U.S. company versus a Canadian company, which seems like it's irrelevant, but it does give potentially incentivize a lot of institutional investors
And
to invest.
do you know where their headquarters is going to be, Tom?
I believe it's going to be in Miami,
Yes,
Florida.
it is. Yep.
So the self-proclaimed Bitcoin headquarters of the universe, Miami,
Which
Florida.
which is getting interesting because the next year's conference is not going to be there.
Oh,
It's
that's
moving
right.
to Nashville.
That's where, right, up until then, the Bitcoin conference had been in Miami, and now it's moving, at least for the year. A lot of these conferences, I think that's a sign of maturity because, the Builder Conference flips every year. They're in Orlando at least, once every 3 years. They're in Vegas. They've been other places. So I think it speaks to the fact there's more interest elsewhere, that they're moving around. I hope that they rotate, between 2 or 3 places. And they never, you and I went and to not this year's but last year's, and we said so on the stream at the time. I think we're both a little bit underwhelmed at the conference itself. Especially since
it's more industrial, you know what I mean? It's more industry Bitcoin aspect than Bitcoin itself, if
then
that makes sense.
then necessarily for retail investors.
Right.
That's the way they present itself. There's a lot of interesting conversation that goes on that, if you're very interested in Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin miners were on a lot of the panels, the CEOs of the Bitcoin mining companies. So, I enjoyed a lot of it, but it was less than I thought it was going to be. It was less organized than I thought it was going to be. But they're still, this is still young, new stuff. So maybe they're just getting going. We'll see. We'll see how next year's goes.
I think it's been going on for 10 years.
Well, yes, but how many people went 5 years ago?
Right, yeah.
2 years ago there was, or maybe, not this year, not the one we went to. The year before, there was a big announcement. And the year that we went, they really hyped that this year's announcements are going to just blow away last year's announcements. They're game changers. You're going to be floored. It's, everything's, there's before the conference and after the conference, and nothing happened. So
I think that was about the Lightning Network.
That's right. It was about the Lightning Network.
Yeah, it was about the Lightning. Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. That was, sometimes it's about expectations. It's like going to a movie. You go to a movie that you don't necessarily care about, and it's pretty good. You're like, oh, that was a pretty good movie. I liked that. And then, but you go into one that's been hyped for 6 months, and, if it's not a grand slam home run, you walk out disappointed. So it's the same kind of thing.
Thanks, Steve. How's the poll doing, Tom? 81%.
Yeah, this is a runaway. I think we'll close this out and do the next one. But first, we are at 54 likes. If everybody could please do us a favor and smash the like button. It does help the live stream in real time on the YouTube algorithm. So we appreciate it. That's why I'm harping on this, because that's how YouTube works. We don't make the rules.
Tom, Barry has a question.
What's the
SEC
question?
rule for Celsius? I don't think the market has spotted it yet. Could be $75 million difference over 5 years.
That's for a specific Bitcoin miner, not for the whole entire market. Who's the one? I'm blanking. Who's doing there? Is this a hot thing?
Celsius?
Drop in the this deal. Yes, this.
I don't know anything about it. I don't know.
Yes.
Tom will come up with the answer here in a second. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to just say the wrong thing. I was hoping
that's one thing really cool about you, Tom. You don't just shoot from the hip at all. If he doesn't know the answer, he'll get it to you, but he won't say he knows it.
I don't know. There's no spreading of false information or FUD, not on purpose anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you think these things will bleed back at all during the halving?
is there
If
going to be
price
a
kind of
tiny
let's
window of opportunity?
yeah.
I think there's going to be winners and losers.
Okay.
So I will tell you, I wouldn't, for the companies that I want to invest in, I'm not hoping and waiting that there's going to be a big pullback at the halving, because I don't think that's going to be the case for, what I consider my top 5. For some of the ones that are on the bubble, they might have a big pullback, and then if Bitcoin does its thing, have an even bigger run up. So, it's always higher risk, higher reward. But I'm not expecting, no, I am not expecting a big pullback. I think we already I think we just experienced, we tracked a 14-week window of time where Bitcoin was just decimating the Bitcoin miners in performance. And I think I think we just lived the pain of that. So to me, that was the halving type of a scenario being priced in. I don't think you're going to, I don't think you're going to get another swing at that. I think that happened.
So you're saying $3 CleanSpark is off the table?
In my opinion, unless if Bitcoin tanks, obviously everything is contingent on that. If Bitcoin tanks, then yes, the Bitcoin miners are going to tank again. I don't believe that's what's going to happen between now and the halving. In fact, we'll do a poll on that, but I think Bitcoin will be up substantially from here by the time of the halving. And so and even if it just stayed right where it is, you're not, in my opinion, you will not see CleanSpark at 350 again if Bitcoin's at $38,000 or $40,000. I'm just reading a couple of the comments that are funny. They don't require repeating, but Hut 8 will not be a Bitcoin miner by the end of 2024. That's from David. I disagree with that, David, and I understand why you can say that, because they mine almost no Bitcoin right now, but I think they're planning on ramping up their Bitcoin operations. They're not going to be top 3. They've put themselves out of that conversation, but, I think they could be number 6 or 7 in, number of Bitcoin mined, so in monthly production. If they're in the top 6 or 7, then they're still in the conversation, and total revenue with the other revenue streams they have. So to me, it's going to be a combination of, I'm trying to look at gross profit. If these companies can increase their gross profit, manage their overhead, and, keep their debt down somewhere near zero. So a lot of them are at absolute zero. And if you're in that neighborhood, to me, that's where you got to be as a Bitcoin miner at the halving and beyond. Debt is going to be toxic. And I don't know, I think it'll be decades before debt comes back into the Bitcoin mining industry, if ever. This last cycle, we saw a lot of debt come into existence, and I just don't think we're ever going to see it again. With the caveat, with the exception to that being, there's 2 different things these companies do. A lot of them are now building their own infrastructure, and if it's for energy infrastructure that's got a 20, 30, 40 year lifespan, you may see some debt on that, but you're not going to see institutions lending money so that companies can go out and buy Bitcoin mining machines. Those days, in my opinion, are gone forever.
So do you think the last 21, 28 days of the hell that we just went through, do you think that was like, quote unquote, them trying to keep us out of what's coming?
Of what's coming for the Bitcoin miners?
The Bitcoin miners, yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's no doubt. And it's not just the last 28 days. I mean, we have now, it's a total of 19 weeks, but there was really a 14-week period where Bitcoin was up substantially, and all 19 of the Bitcoin miners that I follow were down substantially. And by substantially, I mean the best ones were down 30 or 35%. Most were down more like 50. A bunch were down between 70 and 75%. In the same period where Bitcoin was not only up, but hitting their high for the year in 2023. So that's why I'm saying, like, the pullback, yes, there's a pullback at the halving, but it already happened. That was a brutal, brutal period of time for the Bitcoin miners.
Everybody's brought this up in chat. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Core Scientific, the 25-1 to right 25-1 reverse split.
That's right. We have not yet talked about that. That we went through on our members only live stream, but that happened in between this week and last week. So
how are they going to restructure their debt? Did you look into it? Did you see or no?
We still don't. I mean, I don't know the answer to the entire situation, but they've got a plan put together, and a couple of the highlights of this plan, you know, if they put this press release out, this was apparently, this says correcting and replacing. So the first time they put this out, there must have been an error in it. A $55 million equity rights offering. This is to existing shareholders. And so there's 4 or 5 big clues in here as to how this is going to go, what this is going to look like when it comes out of bankruptcy. And on this day that this came out, the stock tanked. It actually didn't tank as much as I thought it was going to tank. So, but it was down. Let's look at the chart for the week. We're going to go. No, I don't want to go on we got to go here.
And then I'm going to ask you.
So you can see, like, Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So, you know, this was down. So it's down 25% in the week. That's less than I expected. But you can see there was a big, this is the day this came out, and it did do a big recovery. This got down to about, 36 cents on the day. It's now at 45 cents. There was a big hit on this because basically there's a couple of different ways. I don't think you can precisely do the math, but I'm going to go back to that. And you can see that a couple of things that they talked about. First of all, 1 to 25 reverse split was the first thing. So you can expect that. But this offering, this $55 million equity rights offering, I thought gave a little more insight. This is so each subscription right will entitle the holder to 0.01734 shares. So I think if you do the math, you got to own 56 or 57 shares to get the right to buy 1 share if you're an existing shareholder, and you can buy that share at $8.21.7. So if you do all the math on that, if that's where the stock is going to be, that represented a significant pullback from where the stock was trading at the time of this announcement. So maybe this is at a little bit of a discount. Maybe they're offering the shareholders a little bit of a discount. So, maybe it doesn't deserve to come all the way down to this. But they did say the plan, which incorporates the RSA settlements and is premised on a $1.5 billion total enterprise value. So to me, a lot of this is going to get eaten up by their debt holders because, they're going to have to turn a lot of this debt into equity. So I still can't say, with precision exactly what's going to come out of this, but I can say the market spoke to this. With this additional amount of information, the stock had a 25% pullback from where it was. So it should start to be getting closer and closer to what will end up being its fair value when it comes out of bankruptcy. There's no guarantee of that, but I think this pullback is an indication. For me personally, when I ran through these numbers, I think there's still more room to the downside. So I'm worried about this. But that's short-term stuff again, because the other side of this is if you believe that they're going to come out of this a much healthier company, and you're buying looking, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road, which, we always talk about on this channel, that kind of, that's what we do. We're more, I'll speak for myself. I'm more of a longer term investor. So that's what I'm looking for, not what's going to happen. I'm not swing trading or day trading these stocks, for the most part. So, if you feel like this is going to be one of the winners down the line, they will still be a very big Bitcoin miner when they, when all this is said and done with. They'll be the second or third largest. I think when they come out of bankruptcy, they will be mining the third largest amount of Bitcoin out of all the publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. Somewhere in January or February of 2024 is my estimation. So,
So are you staying away from them, Tom?
To me, there's too much uncertainty. In a group of 19 stocks that I follow, there's several that I have a high level of conviction in that I know an awful lot more about than the guesswork and pieces of the puzzle that I'm trying to put together for Core Scientific, and there's pieces yet unknown. And obviously that's, the future's unknown. So we don't know the price of Bitcoin over time. We don't know the difficulty level over time. We don't know how companies are going to execute on, most of which have at the market offerings and a lot of growth ahead. So, there's a lot of unknowns in this. These are all still at very early stage. This is a very capital intensive industry. These are all small to micro cap stocks. Some of them are even smaller than micro cap. So, a lot of volatility. We talk about this all the time, and I say it for a reason. And I get criticized in the comments a lot. Oh, you don't have to tell people that, these are high volatility stocks and, for liability. I'm not saying it for liability reasons. I'm saying it because if for those people passing through or new here, you need to know, like, this is not, you're not investing in, in PayPal or in Meta. These are super ultra high volatility stocks. These are small cap, micro cap, nano cap stocks. It's the most important piece of information that I can give about these stocks is that they're massive, massive volatility. So I will continue to say that despite the fact that it may agitate some people. It's important.
Well, we'll move on. You can read Darren, but before you read it, I'm going to tell you this is the nicest comment, and I've been waiting for this because we've been taking hell for this. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, this comment from Darren?
Yes.
Oh. All right. Well, first, Darren, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Tom and George, thanks for having the live stream today. Your criticism of Iris Energy after their $500 million ATM and conviction in CleanSpark convinced me to switch my remaining position 2 weeks ago. CleanSpark positioned to 10x.
That's awesome.
Good. Congratulations. If that sounds like that was a successful trade. CleanSpark was the #1 performing Bitcoin miner this week. So, that's a small window of time to look at. But I think CleanSpark was up 40%. Let's go to the chart.
Let's pull that up. Yeah, let's pull that up.
So,
and my whole biggest problem with it, just so you know, as he pulls that up, was it just didn't make sense because of their market cap.
So if I go to, what did he say, 2 weeks ago? So that was a low, not the low, but that was a local low to right now. So, Darren might be up 60% on this trade right now. So CleanSpark's had a very nice, this is what I'm saying. CleanSpark has led. And every, that's the other thing. The miners don't move in unison. One has a great week while another one lags behind. And sometimes, if you just look at a 1 week window, you might go, oh, well, then this one's the best one and that one's the worst one. Well, that's not always the case. There's a lot of factors that can push around these small stocks. But to me, we have been waiting and waiting. We've been pounding the table on CleanSpark on this channel. It's my biggest position, not just out of the Bitcoin miners, but out of all my portfolio. So FV702, thank you for the super chat. FV702 said CleanSpark will 20x, just saying. I think that's true. When you look at a bigger picture, which is very hard to do at this point in time in the 4-year cycle and all those things considered, it's hard to project, but if you're somebody that has confidence in Bitcoin and you think it's going to get to, in a 3 or 4 or 5 year window, let's say 180,000 or 250,000 or 300,000, then, CleanSpark does have every potential to 20x in that window. And they're not the only ones. But also all year I have been saying, I don't think this is an across the board 20, 30, 40x, throw a dart, pick your Bitcoin miner. I think there's going to be winners. There's some that 20x, and I still actually do think there will be some that either go out of business or get consolidated into one of the other companies. So all Bitcoin miners are not created equal right now, in my opinion. There was a euphoric time in the cycle, several years ago where you could just pick a miner. And for that matter, you could just pick a small cap, high growth stock, whether they were forget being profitable. There were small cap stocks that, that had prototypes and had never even had any sales in their history, and they were 30, 40, 50xing. So, things got crazy in December 20, January and February 2021. To me, this is not that time, but if you pick the right stock, I agree with FV702. I think you're going to get 20x's even from where we are right now, and we're nowhere near the bottom. So, if you count from the bottom, even look at CleanSpark's at $1.74 just in December. So less than 1 year ago. This was a $1.74 stock.
Yeah,
so
they made you pay for it though. You had to sit there.
Oh yeah.
Two things I'll remember. One, I guess I should share. I took a mortgage out on my house to buy, I'll say, Bitcoin mining stocks. By the way, I paid off a house, and that's what I did. You remember that, Tom?
I do remember.
That's how I got into this little game. I went down a ton of money, and it's still in there, and it's hurt all those times. So, other thing I was going to say, please, I think Tom didn't want to talk about Bitfarms until we got to 100 likes. I don't know, is that true, Tom?
Let's say that's true. Yeah, that's right, George. Very insightful. We're absolutely going to talk about Bitfarms though, because they had an announcement today. It affected the stock today, and I bought some of Bitfarms today. So I will ask one more time for some likes, but then we will, either way, we will talk about.
But the statement I always remember when I'm buying, even though I hate to see the price of Bitcoin for the last whatever months now, is when you said, you know what, when you could buy CleanSpark for $9 and you thought that was a good deal, didn't you? Then why wouldn't you buy it now?
Right. That's what you have to ask yourself. Has the company changed? Is the company better, worse, the same from an operational standpoint, from a financial standpoint? So that's the hardest part about dollar cost averaging into something over a long period of time. And that's mostly what I do. And it was brutal. I mean, it was brutal for me on a lot of these stocks. But, CleanSpark is a company that I made my list at the beginning of the year. I had them, from an investment standpoint, based on their stock price and, the risk involved. I had them as the second best overall investment potential out of all the Bitcoin miners. Not financial advice. That's just my personal opinion. I had Riot as number one. Shortly into the year, sometime, at the end of March, I flip-flopped those into CleanSpark being my number one highest level of conviction. So they were already number two. Operationally, this is a phenomenal company. And I'll say the same thing about Bitfarms as we get to that conversation shortly. In my opinion, those are the two, operationally speaking, in my opinion, those are the two best performing companies out of all the Bitcoin miners at this point. And really, if I was to give out trophies at the end of the year, those are the two companies operationally that performed the best, in my opinion. Doesn't mean they're the only two that performed well. There's a lot of other companies that did a lot of different things that were good. A lot of growth, a lot of dilution, I know, which bothers some people, which gets us to the conversation. Thank you, everybody, for the likes. We're getting very close to 100. Much appreciated. Let's talk about Bitcoin, or sorry, Bitfarms, and let me go to, what did I do with that press release? Here we go. Okay, Bitfarms announces $60 million Canadian private placement with U.S. institutional investors. So the first thing that I'll mention about this, well, the first thing for those, just to make sure, this is Canadian dollars. So, you got to do the conversion into, well, you don't have to. If you're in Canada, you certainly don't have to. And I know a lot of our followers and viewers here are in Canada. So it's simple for you. If you're trading this on the Toronto Exchange, then no conversion necessary. But if you're in the U.S., this, you got to convert to U.S. dollars, which I think is like something around $46 million U.S. So that's for 44,444,446 shares. So I think this was like 15 or 16% stock dilution. And this was at $1.35 a share, which I think worked out to just under $1 a share US. So, that part of it I don't love. But the thing is, we absolutely knew this was coming. I've talked about it on the channel a lot. And I would prefer, rather than have an at-the-market offering where they're just chipping away and it's this unknown thing that hangs over their head, they just went out and raised money. They can replace at $14 a terahash, which is what the last 2 or 3 big purchases have been made. By the way, those were purchases of S21s, which I think are 17.5 joules. So they're significantly more energy efficient than even the XPs are. So, there's the equivalent, made by other manufacturers, but that's pretty much the absolute latest and greatest technology. It's a big leap from 99% of the machines that are out there held by the other Bitcoin miners. Bitfarms has long said for several months now, they're not going to buy any XPs. They're skipping that. They're going to go straight to the S21s. We knew they were going to buy them. We knew they were going to have to raise money to buy them. So here it is. Here's the money. And on our members only stream just a couple of days ago, one of the members brought up a conversation. How's Bitfarms going to pay to upgrade their fleet? Well, here is your answer. They're going to pay with this right here. So if they can, at $14 a terahash, this is somewhere between 4 and 5 exahash worth of brand new machines they can buy with this money. So they don't need that many to modernize their fleet. So this is going to do the thing that they've said they were going to do, which is update their fleet, modernize their fleet. They have that new power purchase agreement in Argentina for what is the summer months down there, the next 6 or 7 months. They reduced their energy cost by 1/3. And it was already very low. I think it's 2.1 cents now. So they've got that going for them. So here's the thing. There was a big dip on this today, and it actually rallied for most of the day. I think mostly because, it was a good day for Bitcoin, the first half of the day anyway. And the Bitcoin miners had a bit of a rally. So this was way up off of its lows. This was trading under $1 US for a lot of the day. I ended up buying in at $1.06. So
106, huh?
I got in at 106, and I've dollar cost. I could kick myself because I took a break dollar cost averaging into Bitfarms, and I'm not going to kick myself because in that time frame, I took that allocation and I was doubling into CleanSpark. But last week, for the first time in like 6 weeks, I dollar cost averaged into Bitfarms, and then boom, they do this dilution. So
what is your average price in the Bitfarms? What's your average, for your stock?
it's certainly a lot higher than
you know what?
where it's at right now. Bitfarms will probably be my last one to go. I've been buying Bitfarms for a long. I've been buying Bitfarms.
You love Bitfarms. You've always loved Bitfarms.
I have, and you remember I started buying this over the counter in the U.S. before they even traded in the U.S. So my average is higher than this. Let's just say that this is my furthest stock away from break even.
Breaking even.
But that's fine.
So you haven't sold since you started buying those. You haven't sold any of it.
I've bought and sold options along the way, so I've made some money in that regard, and I do, like I said, I will do swing trades small, mostly with options. But the stock itself, I've been holding a long, long time and adding to for a long, long time. But I did slow way down on Bitfarms because while my conviction was very high in them, I did think that it was going to take them time to rearrange their balance sheet, which they've done. I think they've totally, if you look at their balance sheet right now, it's a strong, healthy balance sheet. 8 or 10 months ago, their balance sheet was a nightmare. And there was a path that you could see to fixing it. But we needed to see them do that, and they did it. They will have no debt at the halving. They've eliminated over 90%, getting close to 95% of their debt is already paid off. They will pay the rest off by the halving. They will have no debt going into the halving. They'll have a cash balance. They got this money. They've got the new facility under contract in Paraguay for 150. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Megawatts, right? And so, that's going to be a significant operation there, and that's going to take time to get up and running. And they've said, they're not a company who's they're over 6 exahash right now, and they said their target is 7 at the halving. So, they don't have gigantic plans to quickly scale up. They're going to get from 6.3, I think, to 7. What they're going to focus more on is updating their fleet so that they're making money, right? Their cost per coin was like 17,000. So even at the current cost of Bitcoin, if we assume the effect of the halving is to cut that in half, and it won't really quite be that, depending on, some other things, although it may be more than that if the difficulty level continues to go up. But if you assume it gets cut in half, then 17 turns into 34. So at Bitcoin 38, that's hardly any. They're still kicking off gross profit to pay for their overhead, but that's not a formula that works. They needed to update their fleet, reduce their cost per coin. This will dramatically reduce their cost per coin, and they're going to go into the halving, a company that is cash flow positive, throws off enough gross profit to pay for their overhead, and they've even been saving a few Bitcoin a month along the way. So I think they've totally turned their narrative around. And I did just trade communications with them to get their CEO on the channel over the next couple of weeks. So
Well, at least he didn't pull a marathon. Well, Tom, let me get on Wednesday.
So you can drop in the comments, and on the members only live stream, we'll talk more about this as to what exactly you want me to talk to him about.
What's so funny? Everybody's saying the same thing I said earlier was I'll buy it when it gets below $1 again. It
might, it might not. And with your dollar cost averaging, so if you're dollar cost averaging, I mean, I just bought it last week for $1.16. So,
I hate to agree with you, Tom, but every single week at 11 o'clock on Friday, I buy more crypto. And I've been doing that now.
That is the textbook definition.
10 weeks.
That's gold. That's exactly dollar cost averaging. That is the strategy. And you guys can do whatever you want, and there's more than one way to invest. But, especially if you're somebody who does not have all day, every day to analyze what's going on and to, be hyper focused on this, a dollar cost average approach is a very common approach. Bitfarms could continue to go down before it goes up. If it does, I will continue to dollar cost average, because here's the thing. I'm not going to wait. Let's say next week they put out an announcement that they're buying 25,000 S21s. You think the stock's going to go up or down at, let's say, $14 or $15 a terahash? So getting it at a great price, getting it with good terms, adding a massive amount of brand new machines, that's going to be a positive catalyst. These are very typical events. Announcing a stock dilution is 99% of the time a negative catalyst and the stock goes down.
So you think once they announce it, it'll recover nicely?
Right. They're gonna announce that's gonna be a recovery event. Some point we're gonna get a Bitcoin ETF. All the Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, are gonna get a bump on that. So you've got a couple of catalysts coming, and I don't know when that will come, whether that's 20 days from now or 70 days from now or whatever the case may be. So I'm not gonna try and time it over the next, 5 to 90 days. I'm just going to keep dollar cost averaging in. I think Bitfarms will be much higher by the halving than they are today. If you feel like you got, you're going to guess right and get this at, 92 cents, then I hope you do. I know I won't guess right. That's all I can, from experience.
Yeah, I know
that I will not guess right.
Right. You never guess the bottom. Oh, do you follow anybody from Cleanspark on X or Twitter or whatever you call it this week?
I have not. No, I have not looked at their Twitter feed to see what's going on there at all.
Zach and is it Brad? What's his name?
Oh, that's from Cleanspark.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, sorry. So I have not looked at that in a few days, but I do. Yes, so I do follow both of those guys on.
Well,
what I call Twitter.
Say, I'm just giving a shout out to them because it's just what a class act. He wrote that how grateful he was to have such a great community with all the people that support, Cleanspark, and he's gotten to meet some really great people, and that it's just a wonderful community. And it's just like that's heartfelt. You know what I mean? And I just thought that was really, really genuine. So just thought I'd throw that out there. It's nice when you invest in a company and you like the upper management.
I mean, we've talked to them. They've been...
Even though someone got paid.
What does that mean?
No, remember like 18 million or something like that? I'm sorry. It's just jealousy.
What, you think they're paying themselves too much money? Is that this conversation again?
With options. With the, with the... No, I'm not getting into it. I'm just saying. I just remember. Jealous. Bastards.
They had a great year. They had a grand slam home run, in my opinion. Now their stock is reflecting, and if they're making money and I'm making money, great. Then everybody won. You guys, for those of you who have watched the channel for a long time, you will know that's always been my opinion. I like giving management stock options versus cash compensation. So, I understand at some point, it starts to feel excessive. So I don't know what that point is. It's different for everybody, but in my opinion, their interests are aligned with my interests as shareholders. So, and in Cleanspark's case, I believe it's certainly been playing out that way, right? They're having, wait until they mine 1,000 Bitcoin in February, and then ask me if you're mad at what they've done. That's my
Are you talking about Cleanspark or
yes.
Are we talking about Bitfarms?
No, Cleanspark.
Oh, okay. I'm just sorry.
No, Bitfarms will not be mining 1,000.
Tom, Bitcoin. I just got one of the nicest comments I've ever seen on here.
Let's hear it.
It just hit me, George. You remind me of the football coach, Jimmy Johnson. I'll take that. He's a stud.
He's a winner.
Yeah, he's a winner.
No arguing that.
Yeah, he's a winner. I actually watched him talk one time.
I'm going to end our poll. Meant to do that a long time ago. Thank you, everybody, for participating. 130 votes. Next move up to 40,000. 74% say yes on that one. Bit, huh? Stuck in the current range, 15%. 11% think we're going to go down and retest 34,000. So
it was not me.
89% think we're either going to stay the same or go up. The majority of that, 74%, think we're going up. That's the results of that poll. Let's follow that up with kind of a follow-up poll.
Well, before you do that, Tom, where do you think it's going to? Because you never get to say.
Out of those three choices, up to 42,000. I think the next move's up. That's my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I think, 42 is where I think we've been calling that for pretty solid now. I just get nervous, because it's who I am. I'm a nervous investor. You know who I sound like? I sound like Peter. Is it Peter Griffin from
Family
Family
Guy.
Guy? Yeah, that's what everybody tells me. All the ladies. That's how I pick up all the ladies.
Oh boy. Okay, so now I'm going to get a little more aggressive. Will Bitcoin hit 45,000 by the end of the year? And remember, we got 1 month and 1 week left this year. So is there going to be a big Christmas rally in Bitcoin? Or
Final. That's even another compliment. I love Garfield the cat. He's a sexy beast.
Garfield? I see that.
He's awesome. I remember watching those movies with my kids. I love that show. Wish you got in the prompts and still deploy money every week.
So we're now under the purple line, just as an aside, and put the 15-minute chart back up. We're the purple line at 37,885. That is the highest daily candle close in the year 2023. So if we don't close above that today, then we didn't have the highest daily candle close. However, we did get up to $38,454 today, this morning. So that is the high for the year for Bitcoin. So we hit a new high today. So we continue to hit higher highs. So I'll go to the one.
As you do that, Tom, I'm going to answer Crypto Fever. Got to give you props. Expecting an imminent drop on BTC and still deploying cash, fiat cat every week. Here's the reason I'm doing it is because of the dollar, by the way. The dollar isn't getting stronger, and the dollar is not going to be stronger anytime soon, at least.
Funny you should say that, George.
I just feel that it's an opportunity that I don't want to miss. But I'm still feeling that I'm like going to waste money because I do feel that it's going to drop at some point in time.
Yeah, but are you going to sell in that period?
No,
of time?
no. But
So,
my whole biggest problem was this, is I wanted to move like, I don't know, what I considered to be a lot of money into Bitcoin. With this, they suckered me in with the ETF news for this Friday. I thought for sure it was going to happen. And then I talked to Tom, and Tom's like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. See, I fall for those traps. But, looking at it now, I wish I would have, obviously. And that.
But the good news is you put the money in, and the ETF almost certainly, I can't say with certainty because obviously anything's possible, but at this point, a Bitcoin ETF's happening. Right now, the question is when. We all think it's going to be sooner than later. A lot of people had a November date that passed. A lot of people had a December date. I don't think we're going to hit that either. I think January 10th or something like that is a day that is a deadline. I don't think that's going to happen either. I think it's going to be random day, whatever. It's going to be a day nobody has circled on their calendar and it's very simply for this reason, and the big money doesn't win if this happens on the day everybody thinks it's going to happen, because everybody's going to set up their trade for that day. So it's almost never how this works. These things and that doesn't mean it won't happen. It's just not likely to happen on the day that everybody has consensus and agrees. Oh, this is the day. This is when it's going to happen. So I don't usually, and again, I don't try to time anything anyway. So I'm just continue to dollar cost average into all the things that I want to be in. But my best guess is nobody, whatever that day is that the Bitcoin ETF is approved, nobody has it circled on their calendar. I do feel very, very strongly that it will be before the halving. I think well before the halving. But as to what the day is, I can't even make a guess.
I don't expect XRP to do much in the next year or year and a half, by the way. Maybe up another 15 to 20%, maybe. Not that much. But I anticipate that's a 10-year strategy for me. I'm not touching it for 10 years. Luckily, I'm already in the money, so I don't have to think about it. The way I invest is once I'm in the money, I don't think about it.
There's
It's
a
just,
psychological truth to
yeah.
that, I think, for everybody. Now and there are certain people that when they get up enough, they'll actually put a stop loss in and say, you know what, I'm up this much, and I'll get, I'll get out and take profits if it goes to a. I don't I don't really do that. I know most people will tell you it would be prudent to have some type of stop loss in. I have actually, way back in the day, gotten burned on, flash crash type of things where a stop loss took me out of an investment I cared
Oh,
about.
so many times.
So
Yes.
I won't do it. I'm not doing
Yeah.
stop losses. I don't do it.
Oh, like they know the penny to go to, and it stops right at that penny. It just infuriates me. Oh, Tom, answer this question.
I will try.
Fundamentally, which one's financially stronger, safer out of the three? MIGI, Mawson, SDIG, Stronghold, or any, I don't even know their real name.
Sphere 3D.
Okay.
Understanding that, I think the reason question is asked for a reason. All three of those are companies that are in tough shape. They're companies that the market has lost confidence in. I'm going to go to a chart and just talk about it because to show you what I'm saying, this is year to date. So let's see if these match up. Yep, Stronghold. So this was as of last Friday when Bitcoin was up 120% on the year. The three companies that are posed in this question are these bottom three. So at the same time as Bitcoin's
Wow.
up 120%, Stronghold's down in the red, down 17%, Any's down 52%, and Mawson's down 62%. So it is fair to say that the market has absolutely lost all confidence in all three of these companies. I would add a few more to that list. Argo Blockchain up 4% versus 120%. I think that's the same. From my perspective, Any's balance sheet, in my opinion, is by far the best out of these three companies. So I guess, I would say in that regard, Any, but I don't. These are three companies that I think are in my, if I made a top five, least likely to make it to 6 months after the halving, these three companies would all be on that list. I'm not invested in any of those three companies. You guys can do whatever you want. And you know what? If one of these companies makes it, there's huge upside. Mawson's balance sheet's a train wreck. They have triple, I believe I should pull it up. I think they have triple the current assets as they do current liabilities. So that's a very tough position to be in. But what I would say is if somehow they navigate through that, that could be something where they could take off. So these are ultra high risk, high reward stocks, in my opinion. And I talked about winners and losers. For me, I think the market agrees that, these are least likely to succeed. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Are any of those good for being bought out, you think?
I think if they're the best candidate for a buyout by far out of those three is Stronghold, in my opinion. So that's a good way to look at it, George.
Well, it's funny because I don't know if I should say this or probably get shadow banned, but BlackRock owns some of Stronghold, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Out of any of those, I was like, wow, that kind of makes sense.
I'd be surprised if they owned the other two, but I don't know. And I don't know what their position is in here. There's a fundamental underlying company at Stronghold. They're an energy company. They use that energy to mine Bitcoin.
They just don't do it too well. Sorry.
The crypto winter made this equation flip on them. And they couldn't get where they're going. They had to give a lot of their machines back. They had to restructure their whole company. And it put them in a very tough spot. For those of you who watch the channel for a long time, you'll know that George and I both really like this company. I do think there's an underlying business model that will go forward, whether it's under the Stronghold brand or somebody buys them out or consolidates or whatever the case may be, or buys their assets on the chopping block for all I know. I don't know, but I would think it's most likely what they will continue doing what they're doing. It's just a matter of how are you as a shareholder going to make out? And, obviously shareholders are last in line. So we're way over 100 likes. Thank you, everybody. I can't really see the number, but I know it's over 100. So, but you don't have to stop at 100. Smash the like button if you enjoy this content, if you want to help the channel, if you want to beat the YouTube algorithm. Much appreciated to all of those who have smashed the like button. Much appreciated to those of you who have given a super chat, and much appreciated to all of our members and everybody viewing. Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, this has been fun, and we weren't even going to do it, Tom. I'm glad we did.
Yeah, we asked for those of you who are not members, we did a poll in our members only live stream, asking, is anybody even going to show up if we do one on Friday, or because of the kind of the long holiday type of a weekend in the US anyway, we weren't sure that people were going to be paying attention. But as it turns out, everybody on the, overwhelmingly people said yes to that poll. So we're doing this. And then I think today was a heck of a day in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. So, this turned out to be a good day. So let's go. We really haven't gone through the list. I want to spend a minute. A few of these miners really took off today. CleanSpark was up 14.81%. TeraWolf was up 14.55%. Iris Energy was up 12.03%. So those were the three big winners on the day. But I do want to differentiate, because I will tell you, like, if you look at the three of those, CleanSpark was up, I think 35% or 40% on the week this week, versus, TeraWolf, which had almost the same day. So they were up just under 15%, both of them. But for TeraWolf, most of that was just to get back to, I'll pull up their chart. Most of that was just to get to right back to where they were. So well, they got beyond. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this was a dip last Friday. So they're up from Friday to Friday. They're up more than I thought. This is 18%. So they're up 18%, but so that's a nice move. Iris Energy was up 12% on the day. They had a nice week. But again, if we go from Friday to Friday, they were up about 25%. But the winner this week, if you go from Friday to Friday, and CleanSpark had a nice Friday last Friday, but even if you go from where they closed, yeah, they're up 41% this week. So, even though TeraWolf and Cypher looked like they did the same thing today, one of them, that was to get them to up, 18%? And for CleanSpark, it was to get them up 41%. So both good weeks. All three, in fact, CleanSpark, Iris, and TeraWolf all had very nice weeks. A lot of these companies were down on the week. So those were really outstanding performances versus some of the other companies. And, on the day today, most of these companies were, Bitfarms was in the red, but that's for a different reason. We went through that in detail. If you missed, they did a private offering at a little bit of a discount. And so their stock pulled back. They were down in pre-market, and early in the day, they were down as much as 15%. They did get under $1 on the day today, but they rallied. They actually rallied all the way back to zero, and then they kind of fell off. Things fell off a little bit at the end of the day. But Bitfarms was in the red. HUT was flat, zero on the day. Core Scientific I want to look at, because I think we looked at this. They've had a rough run based on that press release that came out. In a week where CleanSpark was up 41%, Core Scientific was down 23%. So this is what I'm saying. Not all these miners are not moving in unison, doing the same thing. They're not all created equal. you got to pay attention to what's going on with the company that you're invested in. But most of these were up 3%, 4%, 5%. So today was a very good day for the Bitcoin miners. If we look at the Bitcoin chart, I mean, it looked like we were off to the races. George and I talked earlier this morning, and I mean, we were at around, I think, 38,300 when we were talking, George. So
Yeah.
it still actually went up a little bit from there, but you know, it's pulled back since then. But still, you know, this is either going to be the highest or second highest daily close of the year is what it's looking like. So it would be nice. We got an hour and a half left before the daily candle closes. It would be nice to have that daily candle close, but we did hit our high of the year regardless of where we close on the day. So that's continued movement in the right direction. I am bullish. Let's peek in at our poll. Will Bitcoin hit 45,000 by the end of the year, which is not very long from now. So, you know, it's 5 or 6 weeks away from the end of the year. 63% are saying yes. 37% are saying no. So I'm going to quickly just change this question. So we're a little better than, well, actually a little worse than 2/3, 1/3 in favor that they think Bitcoin's going to hit 45,000. So I'm going to change this because I just kind of want to see what's the number. So if I ask the same question, but okay, so if I ask the exact same question, but lower this number from 45,000 to 42,500.
Tom really wants to know.
Well, I'd like to see where everybody's break even is here between now and the end of the year. What does that do to everybody's opinion? So we'll give that a few minutes and see what everybody thinks about that. In the meantime, George, you had mentioned the dollar. So this is the 1 week
US dollar.
So I just want to go through this. We talk about this on the channel nonstop all year, really, this year. So we've had some movement here. I'm going to go to the daily, but I wanted to start out on the 1 week time frame. This green line is a 20-year high for the dollar. So the DXY basically measures the US dollar against a basket of foreign currencies. And so this is the relative strength of the dollar relative to other fiat currencies around the world. So you can see this 20-year high, when we broke through this over a year ago, you know, last May and June of 2022, we've spent most of the time above this 20-year high. We have 3 different times broken below it. And right now, we are breaking below that. We're looking to last week's weekly candle closed right at the line, and it looks like this week's weekly candle is going to close below the line. Now, this is a 20-year high. So, you know, this is not the dollar crashing or getting destroyed. I see a lot of that talk out there. The dollar is tanking, and no, the dollar was at a point I've been saying all year, this is unhealthy. This, you know, being above this 20-year high, it's not good for the US. It's not good for, you know, companies wanting to trade with the US. This isn't really good for anybody. It's not good for the stock market. It's certainly not good for cryptocurrency. And if I overlay, let's see if I can do this. Now we're going to. See, this is too long of a time frame. I got to do the daily on this. But essentially, if let me get this off for now and switch to the daily, you're going to see that there's pretty much an inverse relationship between Bitcoin and the strength of the US dollar. So, you know, when we had this pullback, this is when Bitcoin had its big run in July. On July 13th, Bitcoin hit its high of the year. Now, we've taken that out here in November, but that was because we had, you know, we had this we had this nice pullback in the dollar from above the 20-year high to below it, and Bitcoin had a run to its high for the year. Then what happened? Then all of a sudden, you know, if I take the same arrow, all of a sudden we had a huge run up again in the dollar. And what Bitcoin was stagnant. To its credit, it didn't really crash, but it was utterly stagnant. There was a 20% pullback, and then it was pretty stagnant. So that's what happened in this period. And then now, in this period, since October, this is October 2nd. So since the beginning of October until now, we've had a huge, the biggest run up of Bitcoin this year to a new high for the year. So you can see this is absolutely inverse. I'll see if I can make that work on the 1 day time frame. But this is a hugely important chart. The strength of the dollar affects Bitcoin, you know, in a big way. And I know a couple of our members have really honed in on this over the year. And we've talked about this a lot on the channel, that there's clearly an inverse relationship. And the dollar being this too strong is what I call it. So that's, you know, that's my opinion. This is not good, really. It's awful for the equity markets. It's awful for cryptocurrency. And, you know, here we talk about Bitcoin mostly. It's been awful for Bitcoin. But if I switch just to the 1 day, let's see if this chart is a little easier to read. If I add Bitcoin to this chart. I'll see.
You can do that, Tom?
Apparently not that well. Let's just say that. What is this? Oh, see, all the lines get messed up. Well, if I knew what I was doing, this chart would clearly show that there's an absolute inverse relationship between Bitcoin and the US dollar. So, obviously, I have failed utterly at showing that on that chart. So I'll work on lining that up. I just don't want to sit here and waste your guys' time watching me try to figure out how to make that work. But I don't know why it just doesn't automatically show it. But you got to line up the time frames, and you'll see. But we know. I mean, we know that. So if we look at this on the daily, this is July 14th. July 13th was Bitcoin's high for the year. So, I mean, this becomes obvious when you look at it that way. Then,
Tom, what can they do to strengthen the dollar? Are they going to do anything, you think?
I think they're going to continue to weaken the dollar. I think the dollar is weakening for a reason. I think we now have, so let's go to, there's an answer to that question. Okay, so this is the FedWatch tool that we use all the time on this channel. We are now at a 95. So this is the meeting that's happening on December 13th. This actually, if you look 1 week ago, and this is really small, I don't know if you can see this. 1 week ago, the market said there was a 0% chance that the Fed was going to raise rates at the next meeting. That is now a 4.5% chance. So call it zero. It's zero. I'm just telling you guys, you know, that would be beyond shocking if they were to raise rates at this next meeting. I'll do a poll. If I do a poll, I'm always stunned. If I do a poll, I bet that a lot more of our viewers think they're going to raise rates than this futures tool is pricing in. But I will tell you, in my opinion, there's a 0% chance they're going to raise rates. I don't know what would have to happen in the next 2 weeks for them to raise rates at the next meeting. In fact, in my very strong opinion, they are done raising rates completely. There will be no more rate hikes. What the market is now deciding is, when are they going to start lowering rates? So I'll show you guys a couple of things, because you're going to see the market is starting to price in the Fed lowering rates. First, I want to just say thank you, Calvin, for the super chat. Calvin said, thoughts on Cypher versus HUT 8. HUT has the Bitcoin, diversified revenue, US BTC, and stalking horse bid, and Cypher has been quiet. Hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Kelvin. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving as well. And of course, everybody. Yeah, I mean, those are two companies that I think Hut will pass Cypher in market cap when this merger goes through. Cypher has a very low cost per coin, and they're ramping up their mining operations. They've got a path to grow even more. From an investment standpoint, this is a super tough. This is a great question, Kelvin, because they're both Bitcoin mining companies, but I would have totally different investment thesis for these two companies. They're very, very, very different companies. Cypher, to me, is a pure play on Bitcoin. They have a very low cost per coin. They're going to focus on Bitcoin mining. They're set up for the halving in that regard. So Cypher is set up because their cost per coin is very low. Their balance sheet is, it's just fine, but it's not the kind of balance sheet that's going to carry them through another crypto winter. If for some reason, Bitcoin was to have a downturn and we were to have back-to-back crypto winners, that would be tough. Hut 8 is the exact opposite. Their mining operations is, sorry, but it's in a shambles at the moment. I think they have a plan to get it back online, but even when they do, it will not be the equal of Cypher's. However, they have over 9,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and their balance sheet is super, super strong. So I think ultimately I would probably, for me personally, I would be more likely to invest in Hut than in Cypher at the current market caps, even adjusting for what's about to happen. Effectively, Hut's market cap's about to double when they merge. There may be a pullback after that. If there is a pullback, I'm likely to buy some Hut on that pullback. So, but these are both of these companies I think are going to end up being winners. That's my personal opinion. The question is, from an investment standpoint, on which one of these are you going to make more money? Now, for some of you might think that one or both of these are not going to win. I know a lot of people are very frustrated, in particular with Hut 8. Not too many people are even really talking about Cypher out there in the world.
Yeah.
Even though
I know nothing about it.
They're a big, well, my video's done. It just hasn't been edited. So for members, there's a video ready and waiting. I just got to get it edited and posted. That was a deep dive. So that's coming hopefully, over the weekend. And I loved that company. I like that company a lot. It just, to me, it has to do a lot with, and this information is a little bit old. This was as of November 10th. Cypher was at $759 million in market cap. So remember, Hut's going to double. So, and they've pulled back a little bit since then. Let's look at what Hut is right now.
I think we need to talk about Binance still too.
Oh yes, most definitely. That was gigantic news since the last time we talked. So right now, if this were to merge tomorrow, this would be about an $850 million market cap company. Prior to whatever price action happens, this is about 685 million. So you can see what I'm saying. These are in the same neighborhood. I think they would still be next to each other on this list, right? They would be third and fourth. They would be the third and fourth largest by market cap if and when this Hut merger goes through. So I think that's a fair reason to compare them, but two wildly different business models. So
I think I would go after Hut 8 just because there's going to be a lot of noise with it.
That could be a good poll, Calvin. Yeah. Maybe that's our next poll. Let's see what.
But I do think it's going to go down before it goes up.
Yeah. Well, that's
I think that. So I think what they have to come out is some really strong bullet points of what they plan on doing, how quickly they're going to get back into the mining game, and their whole infrastructure, how they're going to set it up. And how much cash will they have, Tom?
I don't remember their exact number of cash. I could look on their
I mean, that's going to be an issue.
They have a very strong. No, they're not. They have plenty of cash and a massive Bitcoin hodl. So there's no.
Yeah, 9,000.
Their balance sheet is super strong. This is not a company that's going to have a cash problem regardless of the price of Bitcoin. So there's several companies where there's a big I won't say argument. There's a big giant discussion out there, like, what price does Bitcoin need to get to for the miners to survive the halving? Well, for a lot of these companies, the answer is it not applicable. Doesn't matter. That doesn't mean they can go on forever at any price, but what it is at the halving is not really the question to me. And I'm going to do a video on this. What's Bitcoin going to be at the halving? What's Bitcoin going to be at 6 months after the halving, 12 months, 18 months? Once you have a thesis for what you think is going to happen in those windows of time, there are several Bitcoin miners that it makes no difference what Bitcoin is at the halving. I'll leave it at that for now.
Oh, I recommend following Sue on Twitter/X too. She gets up and personal and close with the camera for you guys. Just FYI. A lot of useful information.
Stephen English said, if Sue moved to Cypher, would you still chant for hot? Sue's been nice enough to come on the channel several times. I'd be glad to have her on.
You should reach out to her again.
And I intentionally, remember, she was going to come on, and she said, you want us to come on before or after, the...
Well, it's after now. Or do they have to wait until it's done?
Right. So when she posed that question to me, they were saying, it was the middle of September, and it was supposed to close by September 30th. So I said, listen, let's wait until it closes, and we can have a real conversation instead of you saying, like, sorry, I can't answer that question right now. I can't answer that question right now.
Well, I mean, are you going to take her around town? Show her the area? She's going to be a neighbor.
She could be in the same state.
No, I mean, there's people that commute from Naples to Miami.
I doubt very much that Jamie and Sue and management's going to move to Miami. I don't know that. I haven't asked them, but I
would bet you money that, no offense to people in Canada, but at least 6 months out of the year they want to live down here.
Well, there's an argument to be made for, we call those
There's a lot of Canadians that do that
in Florida.
Oh, and two things. Tether. I haven't heard any more noise about anything to do with Tether, but let's talk Binance, Tom. Binance.
All right, so let me pull up my Binance article, and then we'll discuss. Where'd it go?
I agree with Mr. Dale. The merger could be awesome for a nice little buy on HUT. Usually when they do mergers like that, there's usually a little dip and then a surge.
I'm going to end before we go to Binance, and I just pulled up the article, I'm going to end this poll. It's basically the same number, so that didn't really change anybody's opinion. So pretty much most of you who think it's going to get to 42.5 think it's going to get to 45,000. This was 68% to 32%, a little bit more, but still very similar results on this poll. So thank you to those who participated in the poll. Let's just quickly I'll just run this in the background because I think that was an interesting question.
Yeah.
We'll just leave this up for a couple minutes and just get people's thoughts. I have no idea what the answer to this is going to be.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's the question we just talked about. Would you invest in HUT 8 or Cypher?
Well, how do you answer that?
Yeah.
Oh, just yes or no.
No,
sorry. I thought you meant HUT 8 or Cypher.
You're right. I did the poll wrong. Thanks for those who participated, but George has pointed out that poll makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
No, it would make sense. Like, yes, you would invest in either one of them. You know what I mean?
Right. That was not my intent, though.
I know.
I appreciate you catching that, George.
I caught it quick. Calvin, it just means they have an opportunity to bid. I don't know if they're going to buy it, and I don't know what the amount of money is going to be to actually buy that. So interesting, though, if they go after it.
In this poll, so I'll just go quickly through this. Which would you invest in, HUT 8 or Cypher? So even if you would invest in neither, my question is, if you had to invest, which one would you invest in? Let's see what people think.
Oh, this is going to be a 50-50. That's interesting. 8 votes, 4-4. Now back 10 votes.
All right. In the meantime, George, for your question, Binance founder CZ steps down, pleads guilty, and Binance is going to be fined $4.3 billion. CZ himself is going to have to pay a $50 million fine. And upon further review, he is going to have to come back to the United States for sentencing. And from what I've read, he faces potentially 18 months in jail. I don't know if there's been some deal made behind the scenes. The UAE is not an extradition partner, so he doesn't have to do this, but he's doing it. So I'm not sure. You know, I guess, I don't know, maybe they've cut a deal. Do we think that's going to be my next poll? I mean, you think this guy's actually going to serve time for this, or is this deal already been cut? They're going to go through sentencing, but it's a formality, and they're going to give him some kind of, whatever the case may be, probation. I didn't think, for the first 48 hours, I didn't really think that was on the table, but as I dug into this more and more, he is coming back to the U.S. for a sentencing hearing. So
yeah, from what we talked about to what really is going on, it's a lot different than what we first talked about.
Yeah, this is an ever-evolving story, and then, you can read into it, in a lot of different ways. But the key to all of this, in my mind, there's a few keys to this, and then, George, I'll let you give your thoughts.
I won't give my thoughts, but okay. They'll be very reserved.
Here's my biggest thought on all of this entire thing. This sentence right here. And again, this is an article in the Wall Street Journal on November 21st. So this week. The deal ends the long-running investigations of Binance. So in a lot of ways, even though this is a legal finding, this is a settlement. They're done investigating. Now, there's certain things they're going to do going forward where they have the right to ensure that Binance no longer conducts business in the United States.
Bingo.
So there will be some regulations going forward, but the investigation itself, they're calling this the formal official ending of the investigation, the final fine being, I believe, the largest fine in SEC history of $4.3 billion.
Now they're saying it's the second largest fine, by the way.
I think it's the second largest by the U.S. government, but I still think it's the largest SEC related.
Oh, okay.
But whether it's the largest or the second largest, I mean, this is a massive fine. I mean, $4.3 billion is.
I think this is bigger than we know. That's all I'm going to say about it. I think there's a lot that they're not telling us, and I'm telling you guys, be careful.
You say be careful of Binance Coin, be careful of Binance Exchange. What are you thinking?
Okay, everybody's acting like CZ fell on the sword for everybody, right? CZ didn't fall on the sword for anybody. He cares about himself. You know that.
Well, and he owns, it's somewhere in here, it says, essentially, he gets to keep 100% of his interest in Binance. So he can't be an executive of the company for a period of 3 years, I think. But he doesn't, he gave up none of his stake in what's going on here.
I'm just telling you, it could be a very interesting thing that's going on. And it could, put fear and panic into the market at some point in time. And it could put, I won't say anything more. It's just bigger than you guys realize. Let's put it that way. It's a lot bigger than anybody realizes.
I want to go to the 1 month, because if you look at when it's all said and done with, and it was a roller coaster ride. So a month ago, this was fluctuating somewhere around $225 to $230. This is the BNB coin. This is the native coin to the Binance universe. This is, to put it in perspective before we talk about it. So Tether's a stable coin. So technically, this is the third largest cryptocurrency in the world. Fourth, if you count the stable coin Tether. So and it's significantly. You can see this drops off. Bitcoin's at 738 billion. There's a huge drop off to Ethereum, less than a third of that at 250 billion. And then it drops all the way down to Binance at 35 billion. So, just even third place is just a small fraction of second place, which is a third of first place. So this drops off very quickly. And, George, there's a real chance your XRP could flip spots with this at some point.
That's pretty interesting.
I mean, they are now neck and neck. So through XRP, which has been pretty much banned from the US for years and years, wrapped up still in a case with the SEC, through all of that, they're still the fourth largest cryptocurrency, fifth if you count the stable coin. So, these guys have been, I will say, I was skeptical. George, you've been on this XRP for a long, long time. I was skeptical. Ultimately, the members voted for me to do a deep dive, which took me at least a month. It turned out to be 5 times the amount of research of any other deep dive I've ever done, but there's a lot more here than I thought. So I'm in.
Darren S., thanks for your vote of confidence, because I don't believe a word George says.
Does that mean that you disagree, or you don't?
I guess he disagrees that Binance thing going down is bigger than we realize. I'm just saying that it's not good for people overall. I'm not going to get into it because I know.
Well, this is what I'm trying to put it in perspective. It's $35 billion. And by the way, another thing to point out, as long as we're on this screen, the global crypto market cap is now $1.43 trillion. And this number is a little bit different depending on what website you visit. But this, even since our live stream the other day, George, this has gone up a lot. The market cap of cryptocurrency is rising. There's a narrative out there that this is a zero-sum game and money's just trading hands between Bitcoin and the altcoins.
And no new money's coming in.
And that is just verifiably false. We see every single week after week after week. I remember when this was in the 800 billions. It's now over 1.4 trillion. So, it hasn't quite doubled this year, but it's working on it. So a lot of money's coming in. And by the way, this is pre-Bitcoin ETF and ultimately, most likely, at some point, maybe in 2024, an Ethereum ETF. So I think also really the bull run for Bitcoin as far as the 4-year cycle goes. So a lot of money has come into this. I believe a lot more money will come into this. I think we'll see the old all-time market cap get taken out. That's my opinion, and my opinion is that will happen in 2024, not 2025.
George, you made it seem like it would be the last coffin. Oh, like the last nail for BTC, and the price would drop to 10 or 20. Which one was it? No, what I said was, listen, I'm still gonna not change my opinion. I'll tell you this until I'm blue in the face. The only time I'll lose my opinion about Bitcoin going down is when the ETF is finally approved.
So you think once we got the ETF, the opportunity for them to tank Bitcoin will have ended, and it's up from there. So I got an interesting article I want to share right on that very topic. We're pretty much split on this poll. Which one would you invest in? Hut 8's actually winning 55% to 45%. So very, very close. Not a lot of votes, which tells me most people watching aren't necessarily interested in investing in Hut 8 or Cypher at this time. So
I got to leave in 6 minutes, by the way.
All right. So that is that poll. Let me get another one up, and then I'll go to an article that goes to what you just talked about, which is the opportunity for Bitcoin to tank Bitcoin is going to end when the ETF comes out. So I'm going to show you some FUD that it ran across today. I consider it FUD.
Well, you can't have that much money moving into it and expect the price to go to nothing. I mean, that's just not realistic.
I'll show you what somebody's trying to sell, and believe it's
Calvin,
JP
I voted
Morgan.
for a hut, but I think it's going to go down after the merger. Not financial advice. But don't believe a word I say from Darren S. I wouldn't believe, honestly and truly, I wouldn't believe a word I say or Tom says. And you want to know why that is? Because you guys got to do your own homework. And I'm kind of glad that's the case, Darren, that you don't believe a word I say. Because do you disagree with that statement, Tom?
This is not financial advice.
Yeah,
I started this by
not.
saying that's I don't say that for my health. I don't say it for, liability reasons. It's if you don't I don't and I hate to if you don't believe in your investment thesis yourself, if you're borrowing somebody else's conviction, you are highly likely to lose money. So nobody should invest on my conviction in a stock or George's conviction in a stock, because if and when times get tough, and invariably they do, if it's not your own conviction from your own due diligence, you're likely to be one of the vast majority of people that buy high and sell low. That's why people buy high and sell low. And I will say, even though, we're on YouTube and we're YouTube, whatever you want to call it, we're a very, very small channel, by the way. We don't move the needle on anything. But some of this has not been a positive influence on retail investors in its totality. And that's one of the reasons George and I decided we wanted to start a channel. There's all too many people out there, and there's some super high quality content creators. I've named some of them on the channel. But there's too many people out there just throwing darts at a board, shouting out investment tickers, and that's their right. But the real problem is there's too many retail investors at home going, oh, I heard, you know what I heard? I heard this is going to the moon. Boom, they throw their money in it. And the second it moves in the wrong direction, they go, oh, that guy was dead wrong. He's an idiot. And this ties into my most frequent comment in the history of this channel is the comment, that didn't age well. And most of the time that comment comes within 24 to 48 hours after I've made a video. So just understand, if you watch one of my videos and 2 days later you think it didn't age well, you didn't really watch the video, because my videos have to do with what's going to happen over the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. So, and guess what? Neither do any of the other people that you watch.
Okay, so Fever said, your advice, I'm just going to read the last line. Your advice, this is me, has been a money-losing move this year. Sorry, but not sorry. That's just not true. And if you pick and choose what you hear, you're going to get the answers that you look for. Does that make sense? If you don't listen to the whole picture, I've been on XRP for freaking years now. I guess you don't count that one, but that's okay. You do you, brother. You do you.
Well, and that's the thing. Everybody's right about some things and wrong about other things. And I will never sit here and tell you I'm right. Follow my advice.
I have to tell you another thing, Fever. All my money is in either crypto or Bitcoin miners. All my investment money is in the one or the two. I'm selling a house so I can put more money into Bitcoin. I don't know what else you want to hear from me.
You are a long-term bull.
Yeah. Oh, I've never changed it. I just think that they're gonna.
But you are definitely.
I just don't think it's going to be, a clear path still.
Right. You're a long-term bull, but you've been adamant for some time that you think there's going to be a pullback.
Oh, and don't forget, yes, I expected the market to plummet. And I changed that 3 weeks ago too. Remember? I said, Tom, I do not expect this market to plummet. I just don't do it. It just can't be done.
Well, they've thrown an awful lot at this market, and it's been resilient, and we're about to move into a part of the monetary cycle that we touched on a few minutes ago, where I believe I won't call it, this is not a once in a lifetime. It's not a once in a generation. This has happened several times. we're about to hit the phase, and I'll go back to what we were looking at so I can.
Now I want to stay on.
Oh, you got to
Defend
go.
my honor. No, but again, guys, if you research this stuff, make your own decisions on everything, and if you think Tom's right, you know what? Don't use that as one of your catalysts of why you're making your decisions. Don't use it as a catalyst of your only decision.
Yeah, the best thing that watching any of these things can do is, spark hey, I heard something interesting. You go look into it yourself. Or, a lot of you, I know, particularly a lot of the members on this channel and a lot of the subscribers to this channel are, especially as it pertains to Bitcoin miners, are very knowledgeable. So we're kind of a niche. A lot of what we do is pretty targeted, and a lot of you guys, have a lot of knowledge in here. So I know you're doing your own due diligence and making your own decisions.
I'm going to say it one more time that I really think that Binance thing is a lot bigger than anybody here realizes. Not me.
You think there's more Binance
FUD
to ahead.
that. Oh, yeah, right. And I'm not even going to tell you what I think right now. Maybe I'll do it, members, but I'm telling you, that's a lot bigger than you guys ever could even possibly imagine. But it doesn't change my effect long term on crypto at all. And remember, we forget this one thing. I called crypto going to less than $1 trillion at $3.5 trillion when the market cap was at $3.5 trillion. Remember, Tom?
I remember.
Right, and I was dead balls accurate on that one. I just thought it was going to 500 billion, and it only made it to 800 billion. So,
Craig, thank you very much for the super chat. And Craig said, just want to say thanks. I had made the ultimate investor mistake, bought CleanSpark high and watched it drop like a rock. Found your channel and you were there. So thank you, Craig. Thanks for being on the channel with us. Thanks for being a member. And I mean, I bought a lot of CleanSpark at numbers a lot higher than it is even still right now.
$9, yeah. But I'm going to run. I'll see you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody have a good holiday season.
George, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for joining us. All right, let me switch over to non-George view. No, that's both. All right. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this. I don't know why my screen's bigger than the other screen, but what I wanted to circle back to, because this is a part of the answer to the question. This is why some of these small cap, high growth stocks, which is really what all these Bitcoin miners are. And thank you again, Craig, for the super chat, and thanks for the comment. And we've been talking a lot about CleanSpark on this channel. I've had a high level of conviction. George, it's one of the things George and I agree on. We disagree on many things. We agree on some things. CleanSpark's one that we agree on. George actually lives in Georgia. He went and toured one of the facilities. And CleanSpark's been nice enough to come on the channel several times. So I have, and that doesn't change my level of conviction whether or not somebody comes on the channel and does an interview with us. For those of you who watch, I do this pretty much full time, and I come at this from a financial statement approach. My background's as a CPA. I'm no longer a practicing CPA, but that's where I started my career, and so that's how I approach a lot of this. In addition, I do a lot of technical analysis and that kind of stuff. I try to balance it all together, but I certainly probably am more financial statement driven than most investors. I will read every 10Q from cover to cover. So, that, and still with all of that, we know that the market trades on a lot more than just financial statements. So, that's a piece of the puzzle. But what I find is over the long term, that's the best indicator. in the short term, and that's why I don't swing trade, I don't day trade, and I always say these are highly volatile investments, because just because the company's doing operationally well, financially well, doesn't mean the stock isn't going to tank in the short term. We've seen it happen. We just all, to Craig's point in his super chat, we just all lived through it. This was 2022 was a very brutal year for all in cryptocurrency and all in the Bitcoin miners. And we just had a 4-month window here in 2023 where we took a pretty serious beatdown. So, congratulations to all of you who are still here and investing. And now some of these are starting to run. So let's see what happens. If Bitcoin can keep running, I think there's a lot more room ahead. And I know a lot of you guys think so as well. So I just want to finish out this thought. If we go forward, you're going to see in the January 31st meeting, we still only have, and this is the peak. This is the peak number. The market now thinks there's a 12% chance in the next 2 meetings of a rate hike. By the next meeting, you're going to see the markets now by March of 2024. And remember the mantra, all of a sudden, Jerome Powell started saying, higher for longer. That was the new mantra. They kind of had to admit, listen, we're not going to raise rates a lot more. We've run out of runway here, but we're going to keep them at this high rate for a lot longer than you thought. Higher for longer is their new catchphrase. Well, the market does not believe that, because starting in March of 2024, the market's pricing in a 22.8% chance the Fed is going to lower rates. 1 month ago, that was a 9% chance. So that's more than doubled over the last month. And I expect, that will continue. Right? So if we go, it was 22%. If you go to the next meeting, that's now a 50% chance of one rate hike lowering, a 13% chance there's going to be 2 rate hike adjustments to the downside by May of 2021. So the market does not, Jerome Powell can say higher for longer all he wants. The market has spoken. They don't believe that. I don't believe it. I think we will be getting, rates are going to start to come down. I think there's a lot of fundamental reasons that if they don't, it's going to be a much bigger disaster than whatever inflationary worries the Fed has. In addition to that, as many of you have said on the channel for a long time, they're priming the money printing machines right now. I expect quantitative easing in 2024. And this goes all the way back to circle all the way back around, how does the dollar get back to a normal position? The Fed lowers rates, we start to have some quantitative easing, and all of a sudden the dollar comes back into balance with the rest of the currencies in the world. And I'm going to go back to the 1 week on this for a minute, because if you look, you'll see over time, if we go back, this is back to 2019. I'm going to go all the way back. So back in 2016, we touched this line, but mostly, we've been 95 would be a line I could draw across here that would be a more normal, happy, healthy place for the DXY. Not 103. So this 103.8 essentially was a 20-year high. We took that out. And so to me, if the dollar can just get healthy, it doesn't need to get beat up. It doesn't need to get destroyed. It doesn't need to, all the things that you'll hear a lot of people talk about. All it needs to do is get back to a normal place. And I think for cryptocurrency in specific, really for the overall market, but cryptocurrency in specific, if this DXY can drop another 10 points, I think you'll see a bull market. You're going to see new all-time high type stuff. Whether that's 6 months from now or 9 months from now or whatever the case may be, I think in that period of time, and we just looked at what the market thinks they think by March or May of 2024, which is only 6 months from now, they're expecting, the Fed to start lowering rates. So I think that's what's going to make this healthy. I think this is going to contribute to the fact that we're already, moving into the halving. It's usually sometime after the halving that we start to have that parabolic move to the upside. So all these cycles are lining up for us. A lot of people are starting to say, well, there's a 4-year cycle in the monetary policy. I think, we've got 2 times in a row where that's happened. I do not think that has anything to do with the fact that there's a new 4-year cycle that it's going to go on forever. Things have lined up that way where if you want to look at it from that angle, you can see whatever you want to see. Statistics are a dangerous thing. But I do think, regardless of whether or not this is a reoccurring cycle from this day forward, I do think we're seeing everything line up right now. The Bitcoin halving is lining up with the monetary policy falling in line, and you're going to see these things come together. I think we're going to have an all-time high for Bitcoin in 2024, a new all-time high. That's my opinion. Will we get a Bitcoin ETF prior to the halving? This is everybody. So this is overwhelming. 90% say yes. 10% say no. So 90% think we will have our ETF prior to the halving. I know probably a lot of you think it's going to come even, a couple months sooner than that, or even sooner than that. So, and you might be right. I don't know, but this is what I think is important. And we've got a big consensus here. I'll leave this open for anybody who hasn't voted. It's obviously free to vote. So let's share your thoughts and see if you think we're going to get a Bitcoin ETF before the halving in April. So also, thank you, Darren Thomas, for the super chat. Darren is asking, Tom, can you take a look at the Seeking Alpha article about CleanSpark just released and get back to us if you agree or not with the author's numbers for 2025? So Seeking Alpha CleanSpark article. Oh, I guess he sounds like he's got some price targets for 2025. I will read that, and Darren, I will definitely, in the members, by the time we have our members only live stream, I will make sure to read that and give you my thoughts on whatever this person is saying. And again, so that's that person's opinion. I'll give you my opinion, but obviously in the end, everybody's got their own thoughts. I'm very bullish, without throwing a number out there right now. I'm very bullish on CleanSpark between now and 2025. And I think by 2025, we're going to be at some very good Bitcoin numbers, in my opinion. All right. Let's see. I just want to go down my list and see what did I miss? Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about. All right, so first let's get back to this, because there is a new, I won't say a new, I've heard this before, but there's an article that I just read. I'm going to bring it up. Okay, this is from, so this is in CoinDesk. This came out today. This is from JP Morgan. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust could see $2.7 billion of outflows if the ETF conversion is approved. The Bitcoin price could come under pressure as some of the money is likely to completely exit the ecosystem, says the report said. Okay, so I'm just going to give you my opinion on this right now. This is from JP Morgan. So, this is obviously one of the biggest, players in the game. My opinion is I don't think the person that wrote this believes this. I don't think that this is going to happen. It doesn't make this. So this is an article to say, hey, if you think there's going to be a big pump when the ETF comes out, nope, there's going to be actually downward pressure on Bitcoin. And I've heard this talk a lot from a lot of different sources. So here's JP Morgan saying that, and they're citing the Grayscale Trust. So for reasons that, I'm not going to go through my entire thesis on this, but I'll show you a couple of things that I pulled up real quick. The first thing is, okay, so Grayscale Investment Holdings. Right now, Grayscale has, so this is as of 11/23. That was yesterday. They hold 620,000 Bitcoin. Right? If I look back and, you can double check the reliability of these articles. If I go back over a year ago, this is August 19th, 2022. That's well over a year ago. The Grayscale Trust had 636,000 Bitcoin. I don't know if I said million last time, it's thousand. So they have 620,000 Bitcoin right now. A year ago, they had 636,000 Bitcoin. There's been no massive pump in the Bitcoin, in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. There's been no massive inflow of money into this trust. The trust has grown in value because Bitcoin's doubled in that period of time. But you can see there's no more Bitcoin in there than there was a year ago. And for those people playing arbitrage, essentially that's what this article says, is there was a huge discount on the trust. So if the spot ETF comes through, that discount's going to disappear, and all those people that were playing arbitrage on the money in the middle are going to cash out. Well, here's what I will tell you. The discount was 50% just a few months ago. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 months ago, whatever it was now. Well, that's down to 8% right now. So those people playing arbitrage on the middle, most of those people are already out. They already made their big win on this. The people that are not out aren't out because they're Bitcoin people. So they're not likely to leave the ecosystem. Even if they get that 8% that's left, which is just the smallest piece now, right? This was almost just under 50% in 2023. So even if they were to take that, I am highly doubtful that a significant amount of that money, never mind all of it, they're talking about all of the inflow leaving the ecosystem. I would say whatever leaves the ecosystem from the Bitcoin Grayscale Trust is going to be immaterial, insignificant. This person's free to have their own opinion. I disagree with it, and I even question as to whether or not they actually even believe that, this. I'm not even sure this is their actual opinion. I don't know. I don't know what they think. I can't get inside their head, but to me, this is an argument that doesn't even make sense on the face of it. So, maybe JP Morgan, the multi-trillion-dollar organization, for some reason doesn't understand how this stuff works, but I doubt it. So let's see what you guys think. So will we get a Bitcoin ETF? I'm going to call this because we're at 91% Bitcoin ETF by the halving. So now let's ask the natural follow-up question. Okay, so real quick, what effect will the Bitcoin ETF, and I should have said spot ETF, there is a futures ETF right now. I'm talking about the Bitcoin spot ETF. What effect will this have on Bitcoin? Do you think that this is going to put upward pressure on the price of Bitcoin? In other words, Bitcoin's going to go up as a result of this? Or do you think that this is going to put downward pressure on Bitcoin and Bitcoin will actually go down as a function of a Bitcoin ETF existing? Share your thoughts. It's free to vote. Don't be afraid to vote. Thought I had one other thing on this ETF thing. Oh, okay. So this is another argument, and we won't do a poll on this, but I just want to bring this up because a lot of people are talking about this. And they're calling out a BlackRock ETF, and I think in large part because BlackRock is by far, well, not by far really. There's BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity. There's a lot of multi-trillion-dollar, players in this game, and BlackRock's the biggest. So does a BlackRock ETF defeat the purpose of investing in Bitcoin? And so I'm just going to read this. I'm not going to read this whole article. Just real quick. The crux of the discussion centered around the tension between the utopian version of Bitcoin maximalists who advocate for complete self-custody and decentralization, and the practical challenges faced by average users in managing their cryptocurrencies securely. The person who was discussing this acknowledged that while ETFs might not align perfectly with the purist vision of Bitcoin, they serve a crucial role in making cryptocurrency accessible to a broader audience, particularly through tax-efficient vehicles like savings accounts. So, and, they say like savings accounts. I would argue, retirement accounts would have access to, the Bitcoin ETF, and, everything would. Once Bitcoin has a spot ETF, everybody who invests money at any broker will have access to that. So it is going to drastically increase the exposure. Having said that, there are purists who say, well, all the big, the traditional institutional, they're going to gobble up all the Bitcoin and they're going to destroy the whole purpose of Bitcoin, and it's no longer going to be decentralized. So that's a valid conversation to have. My knee-jerk reaction to that is there's only about 2 million Bitcoin on chain. So if somehow they were to buy, over the course of these ETFs, if they were to buy all of that, the first thing is the price of Bitcoin would absolutely skyrocket through the roof if that were to happen. And number two, they would still own, a small percentage of the total Bitcoin. There's a lot of Bitcoin wallets that still hold their Bitcoin, and they held it through the previous Bitcoin all-time high back in November of 2021, which was now just 2 years ago. So there's I don't remember the number, but there's a significant, more than half of the Bitcoin still sits in those wallets. So it's not like there's going to be, if Bitcoin runs up to 50, 60 grand, people are going to get out and all of a sudden the ETFs are going to gobble up all the Bitcoin. And I'm giving you the Cliff's Notes here. Obviously, this is a much more complicated conversation than this, but, that's my bottom line is I would say I understand people's concerns, but I think Bitcoin is fundamentally the most decentralized thing in the world. It's significantly more decentralized, in my opinion, than the rest of even the crypto universe. And I don't think an ETF is going to change that. But I do understand, this is a conversation that is being had and should be had. And that's what this person is talking about here. Let's check in on, we're getting close to a daily candle close. So I will tell you, it does not look like we're going to close above this purple line. So for those of you who weren't here when I was talking about this, the purple line at $37,885, that was the highest daily candle close of the year for Bitcoin. So I'll go to this chart, and that was just November 15th. So that was 9 days ago. So it looks like we're going to have a day that looks more like this day on November 9th, where on November 9th, we hit a new all-time high for the year for Bitcoin, but we didn't close there. So I think this day is starting to look like that. We are going to have a green candle today, barring some incredibly unusual events in the next half an hour. So we're going to have a green candle. We did set a new high for the year for Bitcoin, and that was, if I look up here on this chart, $38,454. So that's about $455 higher than the previous high from a few weeks ago. So, that's a substantial increase. That's over 1% increase to a new all-time high. So I think today was a big, big success. Yeah, we ran out of steam. We're not going to necessarily close at our highest daily candle high for the year, unless we have a big rally in a short period of time. But I will continue to say the trend for this entire year has been very bullish. I think that trend continues. We hit a new all-time high today. So to me, that's a day to be celebrated. The Bitcoin miners, by and large, had a very good day. Some of them had an outstanding day. So we saw, because really Bitcoin, didn't have a giant move from yesterday to today, but several of the Bitcoin miners had, 12, 13, 14, 15% moves to the upside. The rest had 3, 4, 5% moves to the upside. Almost all were green. Bitfarms was red for a reason. They did a stock dilution. So, that caused them to be down on the day. Other than that, HUT was at 0. And Core Scientific was down. I think they're still trying to find their footing based on the announcement that came out earlier this week. The rest of Bitcoin miners had a very nice green day. I thought this was a very strong end to the week. We'll have to see what happens going into the weekend. So only time will tell. So with that, I'm going to end the stream. I want to say thank you. Special thanks to all of our members. Appreciate you guys being here. And of course, thanks to all of the subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you enjoy this content, we put a lot of effort into this. So hopefully you guys do enjoy it and get something out of this. So thank you everybody for watching as always. And everybody, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend as well. We'll see the members on the members only live stream on Tuesday. I will be putting out some videos this weekend. And of course, live stream for everybody every Friday. So hopefully we'll see